So SRE is the team that keeps Google alive. We work on the most critical production services and infrastructure. And it's also a place where you can make amazing impact. So like I said, we focus on production. Traditionally, when we have a service owner, they focus on this specific feature. Whereas SRE, we have to launch and we have to launch at scale. So we're constantly looking for performance issues, any bottlenecks in the system. And really we're focused on the end user experience. We want to make sure that the end users are isolated from failure and isolated from cascading failure. What's really interesting about Google is when we do product launches, we launch them to millions of people at a time. So there's no really time for us to kind of launch and iterate if anything goes wrong. So we have to be ready to go that we can scale from the offset. If you take a traditional software design, you have your software developers who develop their features and then they kind of throw them over the wall to the operators. The operators then are responsible for scaling that feature and making sure it's reliable. What's really different is the incentives don't align, right? So the software developers want to go as fast as they can to get on to the next feature, whereas the operators want to kind of slow down to make things safe. So where SRE comes in, where it takes that operator and the feature piece into account is an SRE is a software engineer making that operation function from the outset.
As an SRE, my responsibility is to be on call for some of the services that you might be aware of, such as YouTube, Search, Android, or Google Cloud. As an on-caller, it is my responsibility to be available whenever there is a failure, and I have to go troubleshoot, mitigate, and fix problems in a very short period of time so our users don't get disrupted. In SRE, we use the follow the sun model, which means we're only on call during our days. At night, there are other teams in different time zones that are going to be covering the night shift. So that way, we can have a good night of sleep. At Google, when you're on call, you might have to be on call after hours, but Google cares about your health. So whenever you're on call after hours, you will receive extra compensation, or you can use and take extra days off during your normal work hours. So that way, you can take a rest after having an on-call shift. Being on call is very exciting because you never know what kind of problem you're going to encounter. In some cases, it might be that you're just running out of capacity. You just need to provision more capacity to our systems, or it could be that you're getting extra traffic because there is a special event and a lot of people are trying to use our services. So we got to make sure that we're trained to be able to get to the problem and solve it as quickly as possible. In SRE, we always have a distributed system where when you're on call, you're not going to be the only one to be on call at any given point. If you have issues, you can always involve other people within your team.
So there's a very unique and awesome culture in Google. So it's to try and get somebody onboarded technically, as well as immersed in the culture of Google. One of the aspects we have is ladders, right? So our ladders and our job ladders are called out with really specific criteria of how to set that person up for success, and the criteria they must hit at that level. Each level has their own ladder, I should say. And what's really important as well is that, a lot of what's on the ladder, like an SRE SWE, for instance, there will be huge amount of overlap between a pure SWE ladder. So this gives the engineer the opportunity to be a more well-rounded engineer. And also, if that engineer within SRE wants to actually go and work on product rather than in production, it also gives that opportunity that person can then transfer to another ladder because they have those foundational skill sets from both the SRE and the SWE side of the house.
When people join the company, they first go through an SRE EDU program. This is an exclusive program for SRE to learn about the production systems at Google. After you've done your SRE EDU program, you'll go into a process where you're going to be first shadowing an on-caller so you understand what problems need to be solved, and then you go into a reverse shadowing program. The reverse shadowing program makes you responsible for the system, but you will have another person right next to you to be able to help you solve the problems. Once you pass the reverse shadowing program, it is your time to go and start troubleshooting issues on your own. But you gotta remember that when people are on call, they always have the capacity to involve other team members if needed.
At Google, we are known for providing exceptional benefits for employees, including resources to help maintain a work-life balance. Maternity and paternity leave benefits start on day one of employment. There's a robust cares leave program if you need to take time off to deal with a sick relative or loved one, family member, or even a dependent. We're at the forefront of workplace innovation and experimentation as we adjust to COVID and prepare for a post-COVID world. For example, to help with the shift to working from home, Google offered virtual training in classes. In addition, they gave us $1,000 allowance to help us outfit our home workspaces. Now, in preparing for a post-COVID world, Google is also trying to understand how employee needs have shifted, including considering a hybrid in-office work-from-home model. In SRE, we recognize you have responsibilities outside of work, including family, friends, health, and hobbies. For example, I went to the grocery store an hour ago in between meetings. At the end of the day, you're going to be a part of a team. There's always going to be somebody to cover for you if you need it. That's something I'm grateful for in SRE.
What keeps me excited to come to work every day is that I know that my responsibility is to make sure billions of people around the world are able to access the Google services every time they need to do a search, they need to look up for a query, they need to watch a video, or they need to use their phone. You gotta make sure that every single of those services are working. So, if you like to work in a fast-paced environment and you like to be a technical person, I would recommend you to check out SRE.
So I love being part of Google SRE because it really gives me an insight into how Google production works. It's an insight that you would not get unless you're in SRE because we really live at the boundaries of those services. And it's awesome. You get to work on some of the most critical and hardest computer science problems that we have today.